This is Housebound. I'm Chris.
I'm Holly.
I'm Ashlyn.
I'm Greg.
And you're invited. Welcome to Housebound, a podcast we made because we needed company. In it, we talk about things that are on our mind, and today, we've got an important message for you about vaccines. Now, we've tried pretty hard to keep most of the full episodes of this series away from the whole COVID thing, because we did start this podcast in the middle of COVID, in the middle of everything that had been going on with that during the lockdown, and that's where Housebound comes out of as a title. And so we acknowledge that that's a thing, but we also didn't want to detract from just having normal conversations and hanging out with each other and having some fun times, picking each other's brains about things. But we're at a point now, in Canada at least, where we've got the majority of our population is starting to get access to the vaccines that have been produced by the many companies that are producing these COVID-19 vaccines. And we're grateful for that. But there does seem to be this whole rise of the vaccine hesitancy topic. And so while we're not experts, we did just want to take a moment aside from maybe our regular programming and just try to impress upon you, our listeners, why we think that being vaccinated, getting vaccinated, and not just for COVID, but for your general flu shots in the spring and fall too, why that is important. So by this point, I believe all of us have received or had a chance to receive our vaccinations. We've all become eligible. Was it within a week of each other, basically?
Yeah, basically.
Week and a half?
Yep.
All you little younglings got to go after me.
Right.
Holly, the grandma of the group, was chosen first.
Yeah, so if you're listening from somewhere outside of Canada, I'm not 100% sure of how that's working where you are. But what we were doing was vaccinating the healthcare workers and police officers and some of those people that are in the most contact with potentially contagious people first. And then we went from the elderly, so 75 years and up or something like that. And we worked our way back in 10-year increments and then 5-year increments and now 3-year increments. And pretty soon we're looking at having everybody that wants to be vaccinated over the age of 12 vaccinated. And it's been a long time coming and it's exciting. But like I said, there are still some feelings of hesitancy towards the vaccination process. And so we just wanted to share with you really quickly the stories of how the vaccination process went for us and what our thoughts and feelings were kind of on it. So Holly, since you were eligible first, maybe you can talk a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, man. So I was eligible and we wanted to book the very day that I was eligible because I was so excited to get my vaccine because I believe in vaccines very strongly. And we couldn't get it anywhere. We looked all over the place and I was like, oh, this is lame. So then I thought, well, Chris is supposed to get eligible in just a few days. So maybe we'll book in a different town. We're willing to drive a little bit. So we had made appointments for a town that's like an hour and a half out of Saskatoon. And then I got to work and got an email that said, hey, if you want, this other workplace just down the street is giving out vaccines at, like, they had a site set up for their workplace to come and get vaccines for whoever wanted it. So I got an appointment there and got it same day that I made my appointment. And it was really quick and easy. I think it was under 40 minutes and I got to walk out in the sunshine and I got to do it at work, which was great. To get out of the lab for a little bit.
Nothing like getting paid to get the vaccine.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
So I think even though Chris was the next one who was actually eligible, I managed to cut in line and get the vaccine before him. It wasn't actually cutting in line. There was not much for appointments, but I was able to hit a walk-in clinic as soon as I was eligible. So I got my vaccine the morning I was eligible before noon, technically, because I got the shot at exactly 11:57.
Ooh. Wow.
So I went to a walk-in one, and because there wasn't too many of those, the lineup was pretty long, so I waited outside for 3 hours. But honestly, I came 1,000% prepared for that, and it was the best. But I came to this lineup, and I don't know, I was imagining in my head just kind of like a lineup of random people, like all sorts of age ranges and things like that. But I wasn't really thinking that because they're releasing the vaccine eligibility in small chunks, that'll likely just be people my age. And that's exactly what it was. Mm-hmm. So it was all people like my age, like give or take 2 years. But that's it. It was like staring at a long line of people who look just like me. It was hilarious watching the style choices of all the people my age. No word of the lie, 50% of the women there were in Birkenstocks. 50%.
Nice.
There were so many Birkenstocks.
That's great.
But it was really easy, and I had the time to be able to wait outside. So I think the sentiment of most of us in line by the end was that it was 1,000% worth it.
That's good. Yeah. So the only reason that I didn't go before Ashlyn was because, like Holly alluded to, we had booked our vaccines for out of the city on the weekend, and I became eligible on a Monday, and I booked for her and I outside of the city that Saturday. But then when they opened up drive-in clinics, I got word of some other clinics in the area of my workplace that were also getting shipments of the vaccine in time for Wednesday, Thursday. And so since I was able to book something right near me on Thursday, I was able to cancel the weekend one. And so that put me, I think, a day behind Ashlyn, but it still worked out. And it was about a 40-minute wait, or maybe 50 minutes from the time I entered the pop-up clinic to the time I was able to leave, because they do make you sit for a few minutes afterwards just to make sure that you don't get any immediate side effects. And then they give you all the information that you need to know in case for some reason you do come down with some of the symptoms or side effects that are a little bit longer to develop. But for the most part, it's just exactly the same as your regular flu shot. So you roll up your sleeve, they stick it into you, they give you a little card that says this was the date that you got the vaccination. And there's actually a bunch of really cool apps that you can use to track COVID and immunizations and stuff like that. In Canada anyways. So I'll definitely link to some of that and some more information in the description of this episode. If you're interested, you can check that out. But it was a pretty painless process. I also stood, but it was indoors. So I didn't have to worry about the sun, which was great because a couple of days before I burnt by being in the sun for like an hour because I'm unprepared for summer. So
because we are vampires.
All the Saskatchewan people are just used to it being like so dark for 12 hours of the day.
Yeah.
For myself, I became eligible on a Wednesday and had looked in the morning for places where I could actually book an appointment. And lo and behold, all I could find was waiting lists. So I applied to a bunch of different waiting lists, which, yay, such a fun thing to do. So I was in a queue to eventually be able to book an appointment, but at a few different places. But then Ashlyn, whilst she was on her 3-hour waiting outside in the sun, had actually been scrolling on the Reddit Saskatoon page, I believe, right, Ashlyn?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it.
And so was able to find out that somebody posted, hey, Sobeys Pharmacy posted a bunch of appointments and kind of ranging from like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So check them out. And so I went on went onto their website and was able to go in, and it felt like like the same feeling of booking campsites like the day they open, where you kind of like get up super early and you're like, oh no, like, am I going to be able to book the right one or whatever? And so, but there were so many available. So I picked one and then I was like, I don't really like this time. So I went back. I was a little worried that they would disappear by then, but nope, there was still a lot available. So, so that was really good. And other than that, like my actual visit to the pharmacy was like super quick. I just went there, gave them my information and sat down. Within seconds, they had already like stabbed me and had plopped me back on a chair to wait for 15 minutes and didn't quite give me a lollipop or even the sticker, which was
you
unfortunate.
didn't get the sticker?
No, I did. They said they're a little bit behind, so come back in 2 weeks to get your actual information. So I was like, oh,
Yeah, you didn't get the sticker or the document.
or the actual like,
wow.
card. So yeah.
So you don't actually know what they gave you. There's no documentation.
I feel since it wasn't in a back alley that I'm okay. So, but yeah. So that was kind of the experience. But when I got home, I definitely was like, it felt good because with social distancing and staying at home and masks, those feel really like more of like a defensive move where you're kind of just on the guard or whatever.
Reactionary.
This for me felt like the first time I was actually like able to actively do something that was my decision, my choice, that was against and preventing against the spread of COVID, which to me, that felt a little bit better. It just felt a little bit more of an aggressive thing, which in my mind, and maybe it's their ad campaign that they've been doing, the whole stick it to COVID, which is very much on the offensive language in terms of just, being attacking toward it. But that for me was like, it was a good moment. So if you have been waiting and longing for that moment where you can finally kind of make that more proactive move that is truly your choice. And so, I would heavily encourage that. So,
yeah, that's very well put. And obviously, if you're listening, you've been hearing us talk about our experiences of kind of getting in and out pretty quick, whether it be 45 minutes or 3 hours. It was less than half a day wait in any given case. And also trying to book appointments, and all the appointments seem to be booked up. And that's great. That's what we want. We want to keep seeing that happening as the weeks go by and people get their first dose, and then people come around to being able to get their booster shots if they need them, if they haven't had one of those one-shot vaccines. But the fact remains that there are still a lot of people that are worried or hesitant about it. And maybe it's because they've been misinformed. Maybe it's because they just aren't sure how to interpret all of the changing information that's been happening over this last year. And I think if you're reading up on the progress that is being made with the vaccines and the progress that's been made understanding COVID and how it works, especially over this last year, when we've essentially been able to see it play out it's always in real time, but we've been able to see it play out in front of us in a timeline that we can comprehend if we really choose to pay attention to it. It's not taking decades. It's taking 13, 14, 15 months. And it's been a bit of a pain, but it's been really cool to see the scientific community and the health community all working together, which I imagine is how they should be working. And so it's not like they're not prepared to do this. And it's great that we've got all these resources to throw at it. And we're in a very fortunate country and very privileged to have access to this kind of technology and this kind of medicine and understanding of what it can do. And I think the only thing that I would say about the hesitancy side of things is something that a friend of mine said recently. And that was that if you are somebody that trusts or professes to trust the scientific community, but instead of trusting the community at large, you find these little outliers that might have these other opinions or other thoughts, and you're kind of cherry picking those like fringe scientists that you're choosing to listen to and take their advice on, it's not so much that you're trusting the scientific community then as much as it is you finding somebody that echoes maybe your preconceived notions on the topic. And so in that case, if that's somebody that is you, I would just encourage you to think about, if you do actually trust the progress that's being made, look at the governing body as a whole of these scientists and educators and what they have to say. And definitely weigh what's being put out there and weigh the risks. Talk to your doctor, talk to your family doctor if you're worried about it at all. But I would encourage you to take their advice rather than just sitting in an echo chamber of what you've already made your mind up to be. And so really that's all that there is to say about it. We've all had our vaccinations. We're going to go ahead and get our second dose just as soon as we can. And we encourage you to as well, in the hopes of making it a little bit easier for you to wait in the short or long lines that you may encounter while you're sitting in a drive-through clinic or standing for 15 or 20 minutes while there's an empty seat to get your vaccination. We're going to fill the rest of this episode with, let's say, a hand-curated playlist of, maybe we'll try to find lo-fi beats. I don't know. Lo-fi is pretty in nowadays, so maybe we will try to do that.
We got some heavy vaccination vibes for you.
Ooh, that's what the playlist is called. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Housebound Podcast's vaccination vibes.
I love it.
I'll see if maybe we can get it on Spotify. But you'll definitely be able to listen to a bunch of songs back to back to back now, and for the rest of the episode. And that's a little bit of having fun, but hopefully this has caused you to think about it or be encouraged about it, that there is a large community of people out there that are willing to go that extra mile and do their part to help keep themselves and their community and the people that they love around them protected, and will continue to do that, because this is probably going to be an ongoing thing now. You'll just get another shot when you get your seasonal flu shot. And that's, flu shots are things that went way over my head and I didn't do for years because I didn't even think about it. And then when I started to think about it, I realized this is important. And so if you're somebody that's just never thought about it, no shame in that. Just consider it now. That's all we're asking. Yeah. So sit back, relax, enjoy. You can pause this episode now, and when you get to your lineup, press play on the remainder. But thanks for listening, and here are your vaccination vibes.